Revenge films.
I'm just an average guy working a regular office job, living with my wife in our apartment. People often tell me I have a baby face, but I'm almost 30, so I guess I'm officially an adult now. Anyway, this is the story of something that happened to me. That day, I had the day off from work, so I was just hanging out at home, watching TV with a beer in hand, stacking on some lunch my wife had made for me. I was just taking it easy, doing nothing special. Then I stepped out onto the balcony to have a smoke. Nothing special, just my usual way of spending a day off. This is my idea of a perfect day. But that day, it was different. My wife doesn't smoke, and she always complains about the smell when I smoke indoors. So to avoid her complaints, I went out to the balcony. I was sitting in one of the chairs, just wearing a regular t-shirt and my old high school gym shorts, enjoying my cigarette. Then a police car suddenly pulled up in front of me. Huh? What's going on? As I was watching, the two police officers quickly got out of their car. Since I was on the first floor, they came right up to my balcony and stood in front of me, talking to me from the outside. The first police officer said, "You can't do that!" Huh? What? Me? My mind instantly went into a panic. I tried to think of anything that I might have done wrong, but nothing came to mind. Then the first police officer said, "That shirt! It's from that high school, right? High school students can't be smoking!" What? I was so surprised a weird, high-pitched voice came out. But I figured it was just a mix-up or misunderstanding, so I went inside to grab my wallet and showed my ID through the balcony railing. "I'm 28, I said, and the police officer stared at my driver's license closely and asked, "Is this really yours? Do you have a brother or something?" I thought, well, you can clearly see my face and I just showed you my license, which is a valid form of ID. What's going on? But still, I pulled out my health insurance card, and the police officer looked at it and said, "Isn't this your brother's card?" He wouldn't believe me and just kept questioning me without listening. I was so frustrated by all the suspicion that I ended up saying something stupid. "Wait a second, then who am I?" I blurted out, asking the police a ridiculous question. The officer responded, "All right, how about we head to the police station for now? I'll have the police car come around front, so can you come out to meet us?" What the hell? Why do I have to go to the police station on my long-awaited day off? I tried to resist as hard as I could, but the officer said, "If you keep acting like this, it's gonna look bad. We could even charge you with interference with public duties." He said it in a way that made it sound like he could make something out of nothing, trying to intimidate me. I figured I could reluctantly go to the police station, but at least I asked if I could change my clothes first. The officer responded, "That wouldn't be considered evidence, so no, you can't change your clothes." I was like, what? How is it that just wearing a high school gym uniform is somehow evidence? I couldn't help but feel that the police were kind of unprofessional. In the end, I realized that arguing with the police any longer would just be a waste of time. Plus, if the other residents saw what was going on, it would only make things more complicated. So I figured I'd just prove I was 28, get it over with, and head home as quickly as possible. I got in the police car without hesitation. When we arrived at the station, I was surrounded by about 4 officers. They handed me a form, and the officer told me, "Fill this out." So I wrote down my address and other details while being watched by all 4 of them. Then they casually pulled out some kind of statement form for me to fill out like it was no big deal. While I stood there thinking, "Are you serious?" the second police officer said, "Just write down exactly what I tell you. I am a minor and..." Wait, hang on a second. I quickly put the pen down. I've already told you I'm 28, not a high school student. I tried to explain, but the officer just sighed and gave me an exasperated look. "Look, it's a problem for us if you keep lying," the first officer said. And then the third officer added, "Just hurry up and admit it! Write what you're supposed to!" So I pulled out my phone and called my wife, who was at work. "I'm at the police station. They think I'm a high school student. Help me!" I heard her shout,
"What?"
on the other end, and she showed up about 10 minutes later. Even her boss, who's as close with us as family, came along despite being at work. My wife started showing the police every photo and video of us together on her phone. Up until then, I'd always felt too embarrassed to take any couple photos with my wife, so I didn't have a single one on my own phone. Every time she'd try to snap a picture, I'd complain, "Another one? Women sure love to take a selfie." But this time I was genuinely grateful she had those photos. My wife's boss backed me up, sharing everything he knew about me, and finally they accepted my age. Then the first police officer, looking annoyed, said, "You really shouldn't do things that can lead to misunderstandings like this." That set my wife off, and she snapped,
"My husband told you over and over that he wasn't a student, didn't he? Just because he's wearing his old high school gym shorts, you ignored his driver's license and insurance card and kept insisting he was a high schooler? Are you even real police officers? If those two forms of ID aren't enough, then please explain what would be."
Then two of the officers shot back, "We never said that." "We never said that." And another chimed in, "Yeah, acting defiant towards the police, who do you think you are?" I responded, "Then let's have a police chief look into this, shall we?" "What? What?" the police officers muttered in surprise. With that, I flagged down a nearby officer who wasn't involved in this at all and asked if he could bring a supervisor. Right then, the station chief happened to walk by, so I quickly explained the situation to him and pulled out my phone. "I had a bad feeling, so I've been recording the whole thing on my phone from the beginning," I said. When the four officers heard that, they turned pale. But with the police chief standing right there, they couldn't do anything to my phone, and they were sweating nervously. I then played the recording for the chief, starting from when I was on my balcony smoking and continuing with the interaction with the police. His face turned bright red and he yelled, "What the hell were you guys thinking? Apologize to this man right now! Get on your knees and beg for forgiveness!" The four officers immediately knelt down and apologized right there. The noise from the confrontation spilled outside, and soon enough a few other officers came over to see what was going on. Afterward, the police chief apologized to us again and promised that they would take proper action to make sure something like this never happened again. Then we were allowed to go home. Later, I found out that the four of them had been dealing with a lot of stress and frustration from being constantly told what to do by their higher-ups. It seems that they had been harassing others, including people who had no idea about it. Then, when this was eventually discovered, I heard they were fired in the form of a disciplinary dismissal. In my case, I had recordings, and my wife and others came to support me. But realistically, not many people would challenge the police, so I'm sure there were others who suffered from this unfair situation. Looking back, I honestly feel like they got what they deserved. It's a classic case of karma. Even though my wife and I are the same age, I always get mistaken for younger because of my baby face. She often complains, saying,
"It's so unfair. Because of you, I always look like the older one. Do I really look that old? It's not true, right? You just look so young, and I feel like I'm losing out because of it."
But this time she said,
"I'm really glad I look my age. I'd never have thought to record anything like you did. If I were you, I probably would have fallen into their trap and ended up getting caught by the police."
It's true that when people tell me I have a baby face, it doesn't bother me. In fact, sometimes it even feels like a benefit, but I never thought that same baby face would get me dragged into a police station. I was just casually playing a game on my phone while smoking a cigarette. But looking back now, I really feel like that's what saved me.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.